The aim of my talk is clearly indicated on the first slide, and I skip to the next one. Atmospheric analysis is as old as atmosphere forecasting, and we are happy to have in our group, but I don't see him. He perhaps left during the coffee break, Jean Pailleux, who is the father of atmosphere analysis in France. And this activity of analyzing atmosphere to produce short-range forecast started in the 70s. And 20 years later, in the 90s, there was an activity, first at NCEP, to produce back analysis. That is analysis that are not due, that are not made for an operational context, but to have a smoother indication of the past. And NCEP started with a very long analysis for this year, for 1950 to 1990, at a relatively coarse resolution. And essentially, this analysis was used as a kind of gridded observation in the upper atmosphere. Many studies, for example, study on weather regimes, were based on this NCEP reanalysis, the famous work of Michelangeli and Votard, for example. And just after came ERA 15, which covered a shorter period, but at a higher resolution, including more observations, so that people could start to look at not only the upper atmosphere, but also the boundary layers, the precipitation, the surface temperature. And that was the start of, for example, these analyses from ERA 15 were used to initialize the climate model or to run the first seasonal forecast. Then came ERA 40, which was essentially an extension of ERA 15, except that it was the same resolution, but at that time the model had improved enough so that they could assimilate they could assimilate less data, so they could come further back in the past than one decade earlier. And then in our decade, we have the famous ERA interim that probably most of you have heard of, which covers the period 79 to present. So it is an ongoing reanalysis. It's about 4 to 5 months before the date, and each month it's updated. And the resolution is 70 kilometers. There is also it resolves the stratosphere, which was not the case in the previous version. So this is what we typically use in our seasonal forecast. For example, in my talk just 2 hours before, I was mentioning seasonal forecasts. They use ocean reanalysis, but they use also atmosphere reanalysis, which are ERA interim. There are also analyses which come further back in the past, for example, C27C, which is produced by NOAA, and also ECMWF produced ERA 20C on a slightly shorter period, starting with the century, at a resolution comparable to ERA 15 or ERA 40, which is the observation of the network of the observation network that one could expect in the beginning of the century. And there is forthcoming CIRA 20C, probably next year, which will be a coupled reanalysis over the whole 20th century. So in this background, you can see that the resolution started at relatively low resolution, 200 kilometers. Now it's 70 kilometers. Compared to the observation network, it's still coarse. I skip. Yeah. It's still coarse, and people need to go further, and this is why we need to downscale this reanalysis, and this is the aim of my talk, downscaling of atmospheric reanalysis. And typically, when people speak of downscaling, immediately one say there is a statistical downscaling and the numerical downscaling. Statistical methods, I will go relatively fast on them. To do statistics, you need observation to train your system. So if you have observation, why should you downscale your analysis? Because you have already your observation available. In some cases, you might have holes in your observation network. For example, during 1 month, you have no data, or you have data only during 2 decades, and then no longer data. So in this case, one can use statistical method to downscale, to use the period on which you have observation to train the system, and then on the rest of the period, you apply it. And typically, the methods which are used are quantile mapping and analogs. But we can also, with statistical method, look at places where you have no observation and use the reanalysis as a proxy. And then the methods, typically at Météo France, we have the Aurélie method, which is used to produce precipitation pattern at high resolution. It could be used also with wind. And the idea is to use the only available data that you have everywhere, which is orography. And this is for statistical method. But most of the downscaling is based on numerical method. And numerical method look at two aspects of downscaling. One is to try to use model at higher resolution because you want to improve. You have already your reanalysis. So what do you want more? Either you want a higher resolution, or you want also other components that are not present in the reanalysis. For example, hydrology. If you want to have to have a history of the runoff of a river on which you have no observation, if you look at ECMWF or NCEP analysis, you don't have river flow because you don't have river in your system. So you can downscale it by using a model which includes a river component, the same for soil moisture, for crop, or even for the Mediterranean Sea, for example, for which we are perhaps you are more familiar with. You can make reanalysis of the Mediterranean Sea, either by forcing directly or by using a model, downscaling with a model which includes the Mediterranean Sea. The atmospheric analysis, except the CIRA that I mentioned before, are not coupled, they are atmosphere only. And the rest of my talk, I will concentrate on this, the use of model at higher resolution to downscale reanalysis. The first project to my mind in France was the RETIC B95. As it indicates, it was issued in 1995. And the idea was to use the weather regime of ERA 15 to select a few situations, 20 to 30 days spread along this period, and then to run non-hydrostatic simulation at only for the next 6 hours. It was based on the MESO-NH 2-kilometer model without physics. Such 6-hour simulation took several days. So they had the sampling of the wind at high resolution over the Vosges mountain. And the aim of that project was to produce wind roses over the Vosges. So at 2-kilometer resolution, taking into account the complex orography of this massif. Using ERA 15, which was 100-kilometer resolution, ERA 15 was not able to see even the Vosges mountain. And with this downscaling, they were producing wind rose. But it was not a climate run. There was no physics. It was a purely dynamical model. 15 years later, it was with a thesis. It was generalized at Surfax. But the idea was not to run a model continuously. It was just running snapshot because computation time forbid to do this. But after this period, reanalyses were based on climate simulation, which means simulation over several consecutive years rather than 6 hours picked on a typical period. And two types of model were used. One type of modeling is limited area modeling, and here is an example with Aladdin over France. This large square is the domain size, the model domain, and in red you have the lateral forcing, the area where the model is constrained by the reanalysis. And in yellow here is the periodicization area, which is generally not present in many regional models, but Aladdin being a spectral model, it uses Fourier decomposition in north-south and east-west. So Fourier is a periodic, Fourier is based on sine and cosine, so it's periodic. So we need to have a periodicization to avoid to have a jump from this side to this side. So there should be a transition, a soft transition here and here. And the idea of limited area modeling is that you use from your reanalysis only this part in which you use wind, temperature, moisture, and you constrain your regional model here, which is at 12-kilometer resolution. And here you can see the orography of the model at 12 resolution, which is much better than the one we have in the reanalysis. The other method is to use global grid. If you are rich enough, you use a high-resolution global grid over the world. If you are less rich, then you use a stretching. This is what we do at Meteo France, with a higher resolution in the area of interest. But you can see, except really close to the antipodes, that the distribution is isotropic. The distance delta x is equal to the distance delta y, so there is no distortion of the grid. And you do not introduce artificial direction with this kind of stretching. This is the name Arpège, which is almost 30-year-old model, comes from this idea. Arpège was born from the idea of using a model that could be stretched on a particular region. Then the forcing, you can drive the model in different way, given your reanalysis. For the limited area model, you have different types. The classical is the lateral forcing. This is the red band I showed you in 2 slides before. You have also the two-way nesting, the two-way nudging, in which the large scale drives the small scale, but the small scale feeds back to the large scale. This can be used in scenario. For example, it was used at Max Planck Institute, but it's useless for reanalysis because you never want to modify your reanalysis. You consider that your reanalysis is the truth. So you accept your reanalysis impacts on your original model, but you don't accept that your original model impacts back to your reanalysis. You can also imagine multiple nesting, and I will come back later on this. Multiple nesting means that you have your global reanalysis with a kind of a matryoshka system in which you have one large model. Inside this large area model, you have a smaller area model, etc. You can also combine lateral nudging and spectral nudging. This was a technique developed in Canada at the end of the last century, which allows to have a kind of poor man two-way nudging, because you cannot, in reanalysis, you cannot feedback from your small model to impose the large scale of your reanalysis. You can at least impose the large scale of your model to follow the large scale of your reanalysis. Spectral nudging means that the largest wave number of your regional model are constrained by the large scale, even in the middle of your domain. If I come back to in the traditional system, the model is constrained only in the lateral, but in the spectral nudging, it's also constrained in the middle of the domain, but only in the large scale. This is easy to do with Aladdin because Aladdin is already a spectral model, so it's easy to constrain some waves of the spectrum and let the other free. In other model, it's more complex, but for example, WRF is able to do this at a non-negligible cost, of course. For global area, you have less option. One option is to mimic the lateral boundary condition, but here your lateral area is the rest of the globe. For example, here is the red dot are the grid point of the global model, with a lot of grid point here, so that it appears as a red here, whereas it appears as pink. Is simply linked to the density of the red dot. And here in this area, the model in the white area, there is no driving at all. And this technique allows you to take more information from your reanalysis because you use the information in your reanalysis all over the world rather than in a simple stripe along your domain, as it is the case for the lateral forcing. One advantage of that was shown in African Cordex, when African Cordex is a project which looked at regional downscaling over Africa. And for most models, the connection between the ENSO and the weather in Africa was not reproduced by the downscale analysis, because the downscale analysis in the limited area model, they were using only a small part of the driving reanalysis. With the stretch model that we used in Cordex Africa, with Arpège, we are the only model which were able to to exhibit the teleconnection, the year of ENSO, of positive ENSO or negative ENSO, corresponded to a precipitation distribution which was in agreement with the observation. So this is this system, but the most natural system for a global model is to have no boundary. You don't need boundary because on the globe the system is closed, so you don't need to feed information on given boundary, and you simply nudge the small wave number, the highest wave number of your spectrum, the large scale. You nudge the large scale, you let the small scale free, and you get also a driving of your global model. An example of the use of downscaling here is winter temperature. This is Aladdin model that has been shown before at 12 kilometers. This is temperature over France. And this is kind of reanalysis, but rather an observation. In the case of Safran, it is an 8 kilometer database for which some variables are really analyzed, other are simply interpolated from observation. And you can see by comparing this to this that this model, that the Aladdin model is acceptable. It has some, for example, it is a little too warm here. It's a 1 degree too warm in southwest of France compared to observation. But the aim of validation is to check what is good, what is bad, and also, which is much more important, when you modify your model, did you improve or did you degrade? This is a double nesting case. Here we are looking at the Cevennes area. Here you have the Mediterranean Sea with the Gulf of Lions here. Difficult to imagine. Here you have the Italian border with the Alps. And you have Toulon here, Nizza here, Marseille there. And here you have mountains, and the Cevennes mountains, they are characterized in autumn by high precipitation. And if we look at the 99.9 percentile, you can see here in the observation that you have high precipitation along this east coast of the mountain with 175. This is Aladdin 12 kilometers. You have also a maximum, but this maximum is too low, 100 millimeter per day. And if you look at Arom, which is a non-hydrostatic model at 2.5 kilometers, you have more realistic pattern and more realistic intensity of the severe rainfalls. And to do this simulation, you cannot, because Arom is a 2.5 kilometer mesh, you cannot drive directly Irá-Interim to Arom because then you would need a very large domain for Arom to avoid the scale transition. So in this case, we use Irá-Interim, which has 70 kilometers. We jump to 12 kilometers with Aladdin model, which cover France plus half of Spain, half of Germany, half of Great Britain. And from Aladdin, then this is a double nesting. Aladdin in turn constraint drives the Arom model, for which the domain of Arom is a little larger than this, but not more. What are the benefits of downscaling reanalysis? Why do people have it's not downscaling reanalysis are not just it's not just to have finer charts, more beautiful patterns. The idea is to have, first, of course, to have a higher resolution than a global analysis can provide, but also to have better time and space homogeneity, because the analyses are constrained. If you have a lot of information somewhere, a lot of observation somewhere, you have a constraint which make some spatial inhomogeneity. In time, it's the same. In the recent year, we have more observation from satellite than we have before. So in time, the reanalysis is less homogeneous than a model for which you use the same equations, the same forcing all over the year. Analysis. One characteristic of analysis is that analysis have better variables. The variables like temperature, the variables which are assimilated, are by construction better because they are assimilated. They put a constraint to your system. But as a constraint, the fluxes, which are not assimilated, are worse. And downscaling, it's the contrary. In downscaling, you have better fluxes, we have worse variable. And if you are interested in fluxes, for example, you want to drive an ocean model, it's not necessary to have a very good temperature if you have very poor surface fluxes. And I remember in ERA 15, people calculated the water fluxes over the Mississippi River, and they discovered that the Mississippi River were flowing from the sea back to the central continent because the fluxes, the evaporation was stronger than precipitation over the whole basin, because they were precipitation and evaporation were not constrained by the observation. The observation were temperature, were wind, and to satisfy this constraint, the model used in the reanalysis were calculating wrong fluxes to get the right variable. And the advantage of downscaling is that you don't have this constraint, or this constraint is much lighter than in a reanalysis, and then downscaling produces generally better fluxes, wind stress, for example, or sensible heat, latent heat are better in downscaling because they are consistent with the equation, even though the temperature or moisture are worse. Then what is the use of downscaling? Downscaling is mostly used for validating regional model. And the CORDEX International Project includes the first phase of CORDEX is a model should be driven by a reanalysis to prove the intrinsic quality of a regional model. Because if you drive a regional model by a GCM, you get a bias, but you don't know if this bias is due to your global model, is it inherited from your global model, or created by your regional model. So the only way to check that a regional model is good or not is to use driving by a reanalysis. It can be used also for seasonal to decadal prediction, because sometimes in seasonal prediction you need a higher resolution initial situation. And in this case, if people want to do regional seasonal prediction, regional downscaling is absolutely necessary. Regional scenario, no. Regional scenario is not a field of downscaling of reanalysis, simply because we have no reanalysis of the future. And if you make a scenario, you should be completely consistent between your future and your reference. So in a regional scenario, the right way to proceed for the reference is to drive the regional model by the same GCM for the present period. Climate change detection, again, it's not an application of downscaling, of reanalysis, although it's tempting. But if you want to detect the climate change in the 20th century, reanalyses are not homogeneous enough, because the observation network has evolved with time, and the reanalysis is constrained by this network. So the right way to do climate change detection or climate change attribution from the past, from past observation, is to use observation and to detrend or to homogenize information, the observation to make the detection. However, this downscaling is useful in these two fields. I finished. Thank you.